So it's about these guys, the dynamic duo in Boston, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. What a night they had as they got set for the Milwaukee Bucks in Game 2. Celtics down one game, trying to even this series out at one apiece in Game 2, and that's a nice way to start if you're Boston. Nice ball distribution. That was to Jaylen Brown, and then look at this, a nasty crossover on Grayson Allen to knock down that jumper. Wow. Jaylen Brown, what a start. He had 17 points in the first quarter alone, and here's another great crossover on Giannis to get that to go. 17 points on 6 of 7 shooting in the first quarter, more than he had in all of Game 1. So they really set the tone from the get-go in Boston. Al Horford, a quiet first half for Giannis because of people like Al Horford, 35 years young. Giannis, 5 points, 2 of 12 shooting in the first half. Are you kidding me? 1 of 8 with Horford as the primary defender. Horford and the Celtics defense coming up huge in Game 2, as bad as we've seen Giannis look maybe in any half. In the fourth quarter, Brown takes it, passes it over to Jason Tatum, who was wide open. Celtics roll over the Bucks, 109-86. This series is tied. Jaylen, 30.6 assists, 5 rebounds. Jason, 29 with 8 assists. It was that kind of a night. When you take a look at this, they made 20 threes, their most in a playoff game in franchise history. Boston, 17 more threes than the Bucks, outscoring them by 51 points from beyond the arc. The second largest disparity in NBA playoff history. It was 2016. Warriors outscored Oklahoma City by 54 points on threes. That was that incredible Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals. But my goodness, what a difference a game makes as we say hello to JJ Redick again. Milwaukee controlled Game 1, and last night Boston dominates Game 2 without the Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. Huge difference, JJ. What changed?
What a luxury the Boston Celtics have that they can lose the Defensive Player of the Year and still trot out a lineup with Grant Williams, with Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, of course, Jason Tatum, Robert Williams. You know, Giannis obviously struggled at times in this game, especially in the first half. He struggled at times to score efficiently in Game 1. We witnessed 4 games of Kevin Durant struggling. I really believe this Boston Celtics defense is specifically built for the playoffs. They have size, strength, length. They switch things. They make it tough on you. They build a wall. It's such a luxury to have great individual defenders and be able to game plan and build a wall against players like Giannis.
Yeah, incredible. And let's go a little bit deeper on Giannis for a second, if you could, because arguably the worst half of his career, 2 of 12 shooting, 5 points. Bad on him, really good defense. Grant Williams in particular with Al Horford. I mean, what's your big picture take on Giannis? Because they won Game 1, but he wasn't efficient in Game 1 either.
Well, again, like my big picture take is Giannis is probably the best player in the world, and Kevin Durant is probably the other best player in the world. And we've witnessed these guys struggle against this defense. That's how elite the defense is. And on the other end of the floor, look, give the Celtics a lot of credit. The Milwaukee Bucks bait you into shooting a lot of threes. They pack the paint. They're trying to take away the rim. In Game 1, they shot 50 threes. In Game 2, they shot 43 threes. But the quality of threes in Game 2 for the Boston Celtics was much higher. There was a lot of good to great moments. Have a shot, good shot, swing it one more time, get a great shot. And Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Grant Williams, all those guys had big nights behind the line.
Yeah, we talk about adjustments needing to be made game to game, especially in the playoffs. Ime Udoka, he did just that. Now let's see what Mike Budenholzer does for Game 3 Saturday.
Game 1 loss. He scored fewer than 25 points in 11 straight playoff games. And the Sixers look to avoid a 2-0 series deficit. Philly 0-13 all time when they've gone down 2 games to none in a best-of-7 series. They were swept the last time they faced a 2-0 deficit. And the Heat led Game 1 by as many as 21. They cruised to a 14-point win. Miami has won 12 of their last 13 series after winning Game 1. The only loss in that span came back in 2016 in the second round against Toronto. So we now welcome in our NBA reporter, Tim Bontemps. He's with the Sixers there in Miami. All right, so Doc Rivers says Embiid is feeling a lot better, but remains uncertain about when his potential return to the court. Tim, what needs to happen for their MVP finalists to play in Game 3 when this series finally shifts to Philly?
Well, yeah, Brian, as you said, Doc Rivers said after yesterday's practice that Joel Embiid is feeling better, but that doesn't mean he's back yet. And there's two things that have to happen for him to get back on the court. The first is he has to pass the concussion protocol, which means he has to be able to get back up to working out fully while still feeling good after getting hit with that elbow by Pascal Siakam in Game 6 of Philly's first-round series with Toronto last week. The other part is he has to get cleared to play with this facial fracture on his orbital bone on the right side of his face. That obviously is a bit of a tricky thing. They need to make sure he can play with a mask and be able to go in Game 3. But if he can clear those two hurdles, he will potentially be able to go as soon as Game 3 Friday night back in Philadelphia. Now, as for what the Sixers are going to do tonight as they get ready for Game 2 and try to even this series at a game apiece, Doc Rivers has insisted that DeAndre Jordan is going to remain in the starting lineup even after being minus 17 or minus 22 in 17 minutes in Game 1. Now, Paul Reed, Joel Embiid's understudy in the first-round series, he played well off the bench in Game 1, but he had 5 fouls in 13 minutes, which is a reason why Doc Rivers didn't want to start him. And I think it's why it's very likely we're going to see DeAndre Jordan again in the starting lineup, where the Sixers will hopefully be able to do a little bit better against the Heat's all-star center, Bam Adebayo, to start this game off.
Look, I know it's not a decision that Sixer fans like, but, Doc Rivers said he's going to continue to start Jordan, whether fans like it or not, because he says the players demanded that he start Jordan. Tim Bontemps, live. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, the Sixers just finished their shoot-around last hour, and Doc Rivers spoke moments ago about what he needs out of his club going into this Game 2. It's new here on SportsCenter.
It's on everybody. It's not all on James. I thought James did passing well. It's just on not settling for the first average shot. I thought there were good to great shots that we could have had, and we settled for average a lot. And yeah, they were open, but we could get better shots, I thought. But that's on Tyrese, that's on Tobias, that's on everybody to make the right play, the right pass.
Continue on with this series here on ESPN. Our analyst and former Sixer, J.J. Redick, joins us now. Okay, J.J., so at a minimum, Philly will be without Embiid for another game. We know that. The offense will need to go through James Harden once again tonight. What adjustments you think the Sixers need to make to help Harden carry the load?
I would actually get him off the ball a little bit. Have Maxey or Tobias Harris bring the ball up. Use him coming out of the corner with a pin down to a dribble handoff, so you can get him on the move and become more dynamic in his playmaking. The Heat have such size and strength at the point of attack with P.J. Tucker and Jimmy Butler. So starting from a standstill may not be the answer against this team. And also to help him, I'd look to go small. I'd look to play Tobias Harris and George Niang at the 4 and the 5 and spread the floor with shooters and allow him and Maxey to attack, get downhill, and create offense that way.
Since Harden joined the Sixers, JJ, back in late March, he scored just 30 once. Is he still a guy that can get you 30 a night?
A night? It doesn't appear that way. Maybe 4 a night. Again, I keep saying this, but we need to look at James through the lens of who he is now and not who he was. And he's still a fantastic playmaker and facilitator, but he's not the efficient volume scorer that he was in Houston.
Yeah, Harden has played in 28 games with the Sixers now. He's averaging 20 points per game. That is 4 points below his career scoring average. J.J. Redick, stand by. Sage has got more.
Here we go for the Western Conference, the Warriors and the Grizzlies. I guess. Amazing. I get it. I see where they're going there. And if you missed the game last night, don't worry, we got you covered. Remember, Warriors won it by a single point in Game 1, 117 to 116. It was a close one. They knew it was going to be a physical one coming in, and it certainly was. How about in Game 2? Draymond Green pushing it ahead to Gary Payton Jr. and the hard foul by Dillon Brooks. We're going to look at it again, and it's brutal how hard Payton goes down, and you see what Brooks did there with the arm making contact with the head. He's ejected 2 minutes and 52 seconds into the game. More on that coming up. It's a fractured elbow, by the way, for Payton. MRI later today. This is the next possession here. Yeah, Stephen Curry swings to Draymond, catches an elbow from Xavier Tillman. Look at this again as he is bleeding on the floor. Green clearly catching an elbow to the face. He leaves. The fans are booing him, so he does this. He pulls a Kyrie and flips off the crowd on his way off the court. Steve Kerr asked about it and not so happy with what he's seeing. Listen.
No, that wasn't physical. That was dirty.
Wasn't physical, it was dirty.
Short but to the point.
Play continues. That was just at the end of the first quarter, guys. To the second, Warriors are down 4. Andrew Wiggins drives and posterizes Brandon Clark. Look at this again as the bench Stephen Curry included. They approve. Again, such an emotional, physical series. Heck of a dunk by Andrew Wiggins there, staring down Clark afterwards. Minute and a half to go in the first half. A 2-point game. That's Ja in transition. Goodness gracious, get out of the way. Look at that finish. He just seems to endlessly float through the air. Ja Morant scored or assisted on 35 of their 56 points in the first half, and they're up by 5. Tied at 89 in the fourth. Clay misses. Offensive board comes out to Stephen Curry eventually, and then he gets a good enough look for Stephen Curry. Did he call glass on that? Banks it home. The Warriors are up by 3. Now up by 1. Jordan Poole has it. He swings it out to you-know-who drains another one. So it's a 4-point lead for Golden State. Grizzlies have the ball. Morant. Again, being Ja Morant, basically 2.5 to go. 2-point game. Morant has it again, and this time it's a step-back triple. He is as fired up as we've seen him. Grizzlies take the 1-point lead. Warriors next time down the court. Curry drives, and he finishes. He had 27 big points for Golden State. Would it be enough, though, as they take a 1-point lead? Morant. It went back and forth. The spin move, and then the floater with the right hand. Look again as he crosses over Jordan Poole and puts him in the blender. I know.
Poor thing.
I'm guessing we'll see some of these in the top 10 at the bottom of the hour. Morant, one more time. Drive. That is not an easy shot, guys. In the lane. Look again. He had 47 points, 15 to 31 shooting. And he tells Stephen Curry, yeah, we're going to have some fun. That's what he was saying after the game. Here is Morant on that exchange with Stephen.
Had some, friendly words with Steph. After game 1, he came to me and Jaren and said it's going to be a battle. We're going to have some fun. And I was able to, return that message tonight, saying the same thing.
Oh, my goodness. 106-101. The final score is Memphis ties this thing up. Ja Morant, by the way, post-game, asked about being poked in the eye. Listen.
Ja, back to your eye. You scored the last 15 points. Were you seeing okay as you were seeing those last 15 points?
Honestly, no. But
would you aim in the middle, or would you do? How'd you?
I got another good eye over here. 20/20 vision right here.
All you need, apparently, is one eye.
I guess.
Well,
shoot at the basket in the middle.
Your name is Ja Morant. 47 points, second time in his young playoff career. He's posted at least 45 in a game. And look at the history here. Third player in playoff history to have multiple 45-point games at the age of 22 or younger. And great company with LeBron and Kobe, the only others to do it at that young age. And he's not going to be 23 until August, as we say hello again to J.J. Redick. And before we get to the Dillon Brooks play that ended Gary Payton's night, I want to go deeper on that performance by Ja Morant. 47 points total, 18 in the fourth quarter, with the one good eye. Again, he's 22. He's dominating. Can you put his overall play into perspective for us, JJ?
Well, I actually don't know why we're surprised at his dominant performance last night. We saw this last year in the playoffs when he was phenomenal against the number 1 seed Utah Jazz. He made a jump this year from star to superstar, and he is a singular force that gives your franchise relevancy and a chance to win in the playoffs, a la Luka, a la LeBron, Nikola Jokic. Like, he is on that tier of player at this point in his career, and he's only 22.
And I kind of hope, to your point, maybe we shouldn't be surprised, but hope we can kind of enjoy this moment and appreciate what we're witnessing from such a young superstar. By the way,
well, Sage, I would say to that, I would say, is there a player that's more entertaining, more fun to watch in the league right now than Ja Morant?
No. And I mean, sure, there's other great ones out there that we've witnessed with Stephen Curry, et cetera. But as far as that excitement level, it is another level right now. Yeah. Statistically, 52% shooting from the field, 42 points in clutch time. That leads the league. It's another level. The other major headline from this game, obviously, that controversial play, Dillon Brooks, that left Gary Payton with that fractured elbow. Listen to what Steve Kerr had to say about this after the game.
I don't know if it was intentional, but it was dirty. And, playoff basketball it's supposed to be physical. Everybody's going to fight for everything. But there's a code in this league that players follow where you never put a guy's season/career in jeopardy by taking somebody out in midair and clubbing him across the head and ultimately fracturing Gary's elbow. This is a guy who's been toiling the last 6 years trying to make it in this league, finally found a home, just, playing his butt off this year in the playoffs. This should be the time of his life. And a guy comes in and whacks him across the head in midair. He broke the code. Dillon Brooks broke the code. That's how I see it.
JJ, I think it's important to step back and take away maybe the personal side and how hard he's worked, and even the fact that he was injured. Focusing on just the play, you spent 14 years in the league. Did Dillon Brooks break that code? Was it a dirty play?
Not important, Sage, but I spent 15 years in the league. I absolutely think that he broke the code. And
Okay.
I'm not calling Dillon Brooks a dirty player, but this was a dirty play. When you are on a fast break and you jump and you have that momentum carrying you forward as a player, you are in a very vulnerable position. We saw this earlier in the year. Alex Caruso goes up for a dunk. Grayson Allen has a follow through. Alex breaks his wrist. Myself, I had this happen 4 times in my career. When you jump and you leave your feet, you're in a vulnerable position. And Dillon Brooks made a play on the body. He didn't make a play on the ball and he hit his head. It's absolutely a dirty play.
And it's interesting because the way that he went down with Payton, almost a check on him, you wonder if it was intentional, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You have to have that control in that type of situation. The league is expected, of course, to speak with members of both teams. We'll see if there's a fine ahead of Game 3 on Saturday to see if he will be suspended. Meantime, an MRI set for today on Payton. We don't know how much time he's going to miss till we see that. JJ, assuming it's at least a couple of games with a fractured elbow, how will his absence affect Golden State?
So I think this hurts specifically in this matchup because I do think, and John Morant is nearly impossible to guard, of course, but I do think he helps in that matchup because he both has the lateral quickness and the vertical explosiveness to at least try to make it difficult on him. John Morant right now is just getting downhill, getting to the paint, and just elevating over people. And I think Payton is the one guy on that team right now that can really help. And, of course, maybe they use Jonathan Kuminga a little bit in that matchup to provide some length and provide some of that vertical explosiveness that I talked about.
All right, by the way, Kerr says he hopes Andre Iguodala, who missed the first 2 games of the series with a left cervical disc injury, hopes he'll get back in time to help defend Morant in Game 3, which is Saturday on ABC. By the way, Draymond Green, he got bloodied last night too.